Hey there, I hope you're doing well. My name is Arya and today we're going to look at some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy Reddit stories, consider liking, subscribing, and maybe hitting that notification bell too. Let's get started with today's first story. Much love, everyone. Today's first story comes from I stalked my wife's affair partner to his house. What happened next? I stalked my wife's affair partner, followed him to his house, and I'm currently writing this sitting in front of his house, watching him play with his kids and wife for one last time before I confront him, expose his affair to his wife and ruin his beautiful life. Posted this and raised it, but wanted to share it here as well, since the our surviving infidelity community has been so good and supportive to me over the last 3 months as I've dealt with my wife's affair. I'm confronting my wife's affair partner. Today, I caught them and confronted her about the affair 3 months ago. She apologized profusely and told me she still wanted to be with me, wanted to save our marriage, wanted counseling, etc. We've been in couples and individual counseling. She's outwardly told me all the right things. She loves me, and only me, wants to fix things, doesn't want a divorce, etc. She gave me access to her phone, but told me she doesn't want to catch me sneakily going through it. She swears up and down that she's on the straight and narrow to repairing our broken trust, except she is still seeing him. I found out and kept it to myself. I plan to serve her divorce papers tomorrow, but first I'm going to confront her heir partner to see what other lies she's been telling me. I know. They've talked on the phone a dozen times since I found out and told her. She had to go no contact. She swears she hasn't been in contact with him, but the phone records don't lie. They text almost every day. She's obviously deleting them from her phone, because I haven't seen them there, but she doesn't know deleting them on her phone doesn't delete them from her iPad. So at the moment, I'm sitting in a car outside of his house waiting for him or his wife to leave for work. If he leaves, I'm going to follow him to where he works and confront him there. If she leaves first, I'm going to go knock on his door. Wish me luck. Reddit comments, Nothingman1D975, please be safe. People can behave like cornered animals. Don't do anything you can't take back, and also please update. I've been thinking about doing the same thing. OP, I will be safe. I plan to do this in the open and I am not going to get aggressive with him, even though I'm fully capable of kicking his arse. I am also going to videotape the encounter, so he can't come back later and say that I attacked him or something. I'm very calm and level-headed about the whole thing. Update in the comments. Update, I confronted App, he played super dumb. I knocked on his door and waited outside, calling him and texting him. My very first message to him said, do not call my wife or I will call your wife, your parents, and her parents. He opened the door and we stood out in front of his house and talked. I started by telling him this conversation never happened. If you call her, if you tell her that I was here, I will drop a bomb on your life. He responded. Okay, and I started in on my questions. He lied, and lied again. I kept catching him in his lies and he responded that he was freaking out and wasn't thinking straight. I asked if his wife knows no and if he wants to be with my wife. No, I continued to ask him questions which he lied, denied, and claimed ignorance. I said, I see that's how this is going to go, I'm leaving, good luck. As I was walking away, he said, for what it's worth, I'm really sorry about this, I'll block her number and never talk to her again, thanks. I responded. It took my STBXW nearly 2 weeks to actually apologize to me, and you did it after a 10-minute conversation. So I appreciate that. Now I hope I never see you again. As I left, I checked my cell phone records and saw that while I was waiting outside, he called my wife and they had a 5-minute conversation before he opened the door and came out. I called him back and said, boy, I knew you were dumb, but I never imagined you were that dumb. You made your bet, now you get to lie in it. He freaked out, started crying, and begged me not to tell his parents or her parents. I told him I gave you every chance to handle this like men, but you just could do it. Could you? This is on you. And I hung up. He's called me a half dozen times and left me VMS and texts saying he's sorry. He was freaking out because I was standing on his doorstep and he didn't know what to do now. I know why he was playing so dumb. They talked before he talked to me, so they could get their stories straight. Whatever, I'm done, I got what I needed. I was hoping to put this off until tomorrow, but it looks like it's going to happen tonight. I haven't heard from my STBXW yet, but the rest of my day should be pretty interesting update. So it's done. I'm an emotional mess. I knew that the community here at r/surviving infidelity would need an update and I'm here to deliver. I'll start with last night. I got home from work, made dinner and sat down to eat. My wife asked me how my day was. I relied uneventful. That was the extent of it. We ate, played with the kids and put them to bed like everything was normal. She and I sat down in our bedroom to watch TV and she said nothing for like 2 hours. Finally, after our shows were over, she spoke her. I'm going to bed, and that was it. No confrontation, no discussion, nothing. She went to bed and I stayed up playing video games for another couple of hours. Before I went to bed myself, I slept like SHT and finally woke up at 5 a.m. The reason I wanted to surf her today was that we had a marriage counseling session over the lunch hour. I had already read our therapist and on what I intended to do, so when we sat down and started the session, I didn't wait me. I talked to a fair partner yesterday, her yeah, I talked to him to me yeah. I know her, I don't get it. Why would you go talk to him me? Because I needed answers to some questions I had and you weren't being honest with me, her oh yeah. Well, what did he tell you me honey? He sold you down the river her. What does that mean me? He told me everything about what you guys have been doing, the sneaking around, the secret meetings, the lovey-dovey phone calls, everything her shocked. He told you me yeah, everything. I then went on to list out all of the details. I already knew of their texts, calls, meetings, dates, times, etc. She started to bawl. So it's clear to me that while you've been in here telling me one thing, your actions tell a completely different story. So I'm done her. Please let us know if this story excites you. Click A if you liked the video. Otherwise, hit B. Your encouragement motivates me to compile even more inspirational and thought-provoking tales. What do you mean? You're done me, hands her divorce papers. I want a divorce. She took the paperwork in her hands like it was a venomous snake and stared at it. She then looked to the therapist for help. Her. How do I fix this? I don't want a divorce. I want you, I want our life. I want to stay. Therapist. Do you see where op is coming from when your words and your actions are telling conflicting stories? You always believe the actions, not the words. Your actions have told me all. I need to know, how do we move forward from here without fighting, without without dragging our children through the mud? The rest of the session was surprisingly cordial. There were a lot of tears on both sides. I expressed how betrayed and angry I am that she would continue this affair behind my back, thinking of me as the lovable idiot who would never know she cried because her entire life, as she knows it, is ending. I told her I cut off her money supply so that she could use half of what we have to hire a divorce attorney. I told her she cannot live in our home anymore. She will need to go stay with family or friends. I told her I was done and that there is no chance for reconciliation. She cried more when we walked out of the appointment. She grabbed my hand and made another last-ditch effort to garner my forgiveness. I pulled my hand away and told her in no uncertain terms that was done and I did not want her in my life anymore. She fell to the ground sobbing. I walked out the door and left her like that. As I drove away from the therapist office, I called App's wife and left her a voicemail saying, I really need to speak with you. Please call me back ASAP. I then called my attorney and told her to file the paperwork but to hold on to the TRO. Unless things got ugly, my wife called and texted me several times after I left. I let them go to VM and haven't listened to them. Yet I felt dead inside as I drove to her parents' house. Before I walked in, my phone rang. It was a fair partner's wife calling me back. He hadn't said anything to her. I told her I needed to meet with her in person. Could I meet up with her in an hour? She said yes, and we set place and time. I walked into her parents' house and told them everything. Her mom started to bawl immediately. Her dad sat there stone-faced. I told them that I love her and I tried to make it work, but that I refused to stand there while she continued to cheat on me behind my back. They were so totally shaken that it was hard to gauge their feelings. I told them that I wouldn't slander her or spread the truth around our friends and family, but that they needed to know the truth about why we are divorcing. I told them that I don't expect them to support me in all of this, and frankly, I want them to support her because she's going to need it. This all goes back to my kids. If she cannot afford a decent place to live, I don't want my kids living in squalor during the time they spend with her. Her parents can and will support her financially. I told them I loved them and that I would miss our relationship. Her dad and I shook hands, and I hugged her mom before I left. Then I drove to the meeting place to meet a fair partner wife. I'm sitting in the car now waiting for her to show up. I plan to tell her, show her the video, if need be, and let her make the decision on how to proceed from there. If she needs me to be a source of emotional support, I will offer that no one should have to suffer through this alone. So that's been my day. I still have to meet with a fair partner's wife, pick up my kids from school, and change the locks on my house. I have a security system set up at home, so if she chooses to steal or damage anything, it will be on video. She knows that too. So, I'm not too worried about it. More to come. Comments. Deoxys. Are you going to DNA test the kids? Op. No, our children are old enough that I have no doubt that they are mine. We have been friends with a fair partner and his wife for a long time, but we've not lived close enough to them for this to happen. Until recent years, long after the kids were born. Plus, to be honest, they are my kids. Even in the extremely unlikely event that I'm not their father by DNA, they will always be my children in my heart, where it matters most. A DNA test would not change that and could only serve to drive a wedge between us and legally. It would do nothing to change my obligation to raise them, so I'll stay blissfully ignorant of any fact to the contrary. Update 3 weeks later. Hey, are surviving infidelity. I've had a lot of people reach out to me in the last several days, looking for an update. I apologize. I've been swamped with work, and by the time I get home, I am focused on the kids to the exclusion of everything else. That said, a lot has happened and I could use your advice and input. I've mentioned already that I talked to a fair partner's wife on Friday. She told me she is not ready to end their marriage and that they are staying together and are going to try and make things work. They are in counseling, they have children together, and I don't begrudge her trying to save her marriage. I did the same thing when I was in her shoes. Their kids don't know. I wish them nothing but the best, and I hope they are able to work things out. She asked me not to contact her while they work on things, and I fully intend to respect her wish. I hope they can salvage things. My wife and I had another therapy appointment on Friday, where we exclusively discussed how to tell the kids. She told me that she doesn't want to get divorced. She begged me over and over again not to go through with this. I told her that she made the decision for me when she went back to a fair partner. After I told her not to, she told me they hadn't slept together again after I found out lie, and that she didn't discuss the details of what she and I were going through. Lie. When I confronted her with what I knew again, she broke down and told me she knew what she was doing was wrong, but she didn't think about the consequences, just that she needed someone to confide in, a fair partner, because she couldn't talk to anyone else about it, like me, her husband, who was she supposed to be trying to work things out with, even when I do consider forgiving her and giving it another shot. I just keep going back to the lies and deception. She just keeps digging her hole deeper, lying to me about sleeping with a fair partner, again lying to me about what she told him. It comes so naturally to her that I know I can never trust her again. The lies just roll off of her tongue as if she believes they are the truth, and if I weren't so informed, I believe her, but I know better, so even in the moments where I want to embrace her, kiss her, and tell her everything will be okay, I remember her lies, and it keeps me focused on moving forward separately. Anyway, we told the kids Friday night. It was awful. They totally understand what is going on and they are a mess. They are mad at her for having a boyfriend and mad at me for leaving mom. She really did not want me to say that she had a boyfriend, but I was resolute on that part. The kids have their first therapy appointment on Friday. I have no idea how that will go, but I'm hopeful they will get to start working out their emotions around the whole thing. Meanwhile, I'm trying to be firm as a disciplinarian while giving them the freedom to express their grief, anger, and confusion around what is happening to their world. It's a difficult balancing act. Yes, it's okay to be angry and yell and cry. No. It's not okay to destroy your toys because you're angry. SHT, like that STBXW came back to the house Friday night, and for the time being we are cohabitating until we come up with a plan for who is moving out and when we will have to sell the house. I can't afford to keep it and paid child support and alimony, regardless of how much that turns out to be. The housing market in our area is down right now and no one is buying houses. So we agreed to wait until spring to put it on the market, so we can get a better price for it. The next 4 months cannot go by quickly enough. For me, it's also going to be a miserable Christmas. I can't even bring myself to put up decorations, as trying to celebrate something right now seems completely foreign to me. I'll do it. I want the kids to have as normal a Christmas as they can possibly have. I just need to find the time and mental bandwidth to drag the tree out of storage and put it up. She's sleeping on the couch. As much as I want to be the bigger man on this and give her our bed, I can't bring myself to do it. I put a lock on the bedroom door and lock it in the morning before I leave the house so that she cannot get in there and mess with my things. For the moment, she's using the guest bathroom and keeping some clothes in a suitcase. Call it petty, call it a DCK move, call it whatever you want. She left me and I'm going to sleep in my bed at night and let her suffer on the couch. So that's where we are right now. It's not a super detailed update, but it covers the basics of what has gone on over the last several days. The house is relatively peaceful. She's barely talking to me, much less screaming, scamming, or throwing a fit. The few things we do discuss are kid-related and are brief and to the point. I'm sure there is more going on under the surface with her. There always is. But for now she's being amicable. Update, hey there. Are surviving infidelity. I felt like it was time for another update. I've got lots of good things and a few bad things to share. First, just be assured that everything is still cordial, respectful, and genial. Tension ran high for the first week, but it's come down considerably as we all set into our new normal. Frankly, it gives me hope that we can continue to settle things amicably, as we've generally been respectful to each other throughout all of this. I know it's hard to believe after everything she put me through, but she's being pretty straightforward and honest about everything, and I've been steadfast in my resolve, well, with one notable exception, to continue forward. Second, putting up the Christmas decorations was awesome. The kids had a blast with it. We played Christmas music, we put on Christmas movies, and we didn't take anything too seriously. STBXW got in on it too. Since she's still living in the house, I couldn't exactly keep her from helping. She oversaw the kids putting ornaments on the tree. While I hung lights up outside, I came in and we all had hot cocoa and watched Christmas Vacation. I sat on one side of the kids. She sat on the other side. In previous years, we would have cuddled up on the couch together to watch the movie, but I wasn't about to do that. Third, the kids' therapy is going well. The first meeting was honestly a lot of paperwork work and get to know you stuff. We got into things a little bit, but the kids were shy and unclear about how it was all going to play out. I think that having me and STBXW in the room also put them on guard a little bit. The second session apparently went a lot better. We started session #2 all together talking, and then the therapist asked if we could step out for a little bit. We waited outside of the room while the therapist and kids talked. Then, after about 15 minutes, we went back in and the kids shared what they had discussed. They expressed a lot of sadness and uncertainty, told us they didn't want us to get divorced, and told us that they didn't want to live in separate houses. Here's the fun part. STBXW started crying and said, "I don't want that either." As I sat there open-mouthed, all I could say was, "Are you kidding me?" I stopped myself from going further. I nearly blurted out. Then you shouldn't have fed around on me, but I didn't then like a dummy, I chimed in. I don't want that either, but it felt like I was just tagging on to what she said. Then I turned to the therapist and asked if we could speak to her alone before we left with 5 minutes left in the session. The therapist asked the kids to step out into the waiting room and close the door. She then lit into my wife. She said that she was being manipulative and was painting me as the bad guy with what she was saying and that she needed to cut that SHT out. If we were going to have a good co-parenting relationship together going forward. She said that if my wife truly didn't want to get divorced, then she would have thought about the consequences of her actions, while she was having her affair. She basically said everything I wanted to say, but couldn't. It was kind of awesome that night STBXW apologized to me for what was said in therapy and said she would think more about what she was saying and how her words would impact the kids before she said them. It was about all I could hope for outside of that. Work is good and Christmas prep is coming along nicely. Oh, and I accidentally had a sex with my wife, yeah. That's the above-referenced exception to my resolve. Here's what happened. Rewind back to the night we put up Christmas decorations. It had been a great day, we all had a good time, watched movies and enjoyed being together. It was just like it had been before all of this SHT went down. We put the kids to bed and sat down to finish watching It's a Wonderful Life, which is her favorite Christmas movie. We had both been sipping on eggnog and brandy throughout the evening and between the warm feelings and the warm brandy, I didn't realize how much it had impacted my judgment. She leaned over and kissed my neck softly. I turned to her and we went at it like a couple of teenagers. I wish I could say that I wasn't thinking to myself, don't do this, but I thought about it. I just went against my better judgment and did it anyway. It had been so long since she and I had been together. I know I wasn't in my right mind. That said, it was great. We both had a fun time, but, as I lay there afterward, I just started to get disgusted with myself for doing it after all of this time, after all of her betrayals, after all of my good progress. I'm still pissed at myself and now I've got to deal with all of the fallout from this. I told her that night that it didn't change anything between us and that I still wanted a divorce. I told her it couldn't happen again and that we weren't going to go back to the way things were. She agreed. She said she agreed, but who the hell really knows with her? I haven't had a chance to discuss it with my therapist or with our marriage counselor, who we are still meeting with, and I've got to go get an STD test because I don't know if she picked up something from a fair partner or not. I don't have to worry about a surprise pregnancy because I had a vasectomy several years ago, but the rest of it just absolutely boggles my mind how I could have been so stupid and let my guard down. I'm sorry to disappoint anyone here with what happened. I'm imperfect, I'm pissed at myself and I'm not going to let it happen again. Update: hey there, our surviving infidelity, long time no chat. It has been a long time since I even thought about posting here. I was browsing Reddit on my main profile last night and came across something that reminded me of this profile, and I thought I'd pop in here to give an update. I was honestly surprised to find dozens of unread messages from people wanting to know how things turned out. I apologize for not responding earlier, but it's been a difficult year and I'm still packing a lot of this away. Let me start out by saying that my wife and I ultimately decided to stick it out. Yes, I know that will disappoint a lot of you. I know that I struggled with feelings of disappointment in myself for most of last year. We are not back to 100%. Nor do I know that we ever will be, but things are certainly better to get to. This point took about 9 months of intense therapy, both individually and together, along with therapy with our kids. We both had to be willing to forgive and move on. Frankly, I consider it to be something of a miracle that we made it this far. Here's how all of that went down. After my last update, I made it clear that we wouldn't be sleeping together again. We continued to go to Coop's therapy and she really started to open up about what she was thinking and feeling and what led her to reunite with a fair partner. At some point, probably in March, it became clear to me that something had changed in us. Both we weren't going through the motions, we were honestly expressing ourselves to each other. She had deep fears of becoming lost in being a wife and mother. She wanted something that was missing and tried to get it outside of our marriage. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't falling for a con. I truly believe she was lost and looking for something she was missing. Yes, she should have looked for it with me, but she didn't. I have forgiven her for that. I expressed all of my hurt pain and how shattered my trust had become. I was fearful of getting burned again, and honestly, I still am to a point. I know it could happen. Really, anything can happen, but I've given up on my need to control things and have handed it over to my faith in her that she will never do something like this to me again. It's not just that. I derive a great deal of inner peace from having a plan. That's just who I am personally. I have a need to plan and work through details, and doing that gives me comfort. I know what I would do if I ever started to question her loyalty or found evidence of her cheating again. That plan gives me strength and allows me to put the hurt out of my head for months. Her cheating and lying was all I could think about. Now I rarely think about it anymore. She has not spoken to, reached out to, or checked in on a fair partner her in over a year. I know this because I have access to her phone, laptop, and Facebook messages, which she agreed to. Allow me, for a while I was tempted to check her stuff every single day. It was hard not to want to go through every single message and question who she was texting and why. But with time my desire to check in on her subsided. I always made sure that I did it randomly and without warning, so I could catch her if I needed to. I haven't done that in probably 2 months now, and I don't think I'll do it again unless something makes me suspicious again. Therapy helped considerably. On that front, I have not spoken to a fair partner or his wife since I reached out to her in December of last year. Frankly, I'm fine with that. I can see on Facebook that they are still married, but I don't dwell on it or check it. Often I've set her profile so that it doesn't show up in my newsfeed, and I honestly think the last time I checked it was 3-4 months ago. I don't care what happens to them anymore. We sort of separated ourselves from the group of friends we were running with and made new friendships. I don't think that the old friendships were outright toxic, but those couples had different priorities that did not align with who we wanted to be as a couple. They were very social and outgoing in a way that was okay with drinking to excess, doing drugs, bragging about money, and social positioning. They were nice people, but ultimately not who we wanted to spend our time with. Our new group of friends is great, still social and outgoing, but without the excessive drinking and drugs, more focus on family and a more positive atmosphere. All around, we spent New Year's Eve 2018 with our old group and woke up New Year's Day hungover and worthless. We spent Nye this year with our new group and still had a great time, but got home with the kids early enough that we were able to enjoy ourselves and our kids on NID. Our kids know that we are staying together. We decided over the summer, June-July, to put the divorce proceedings on hold. It was originally scheduled to be done in March-April, but we decided early to push it back. Going through the list of our belongings and trying to decide who got what was really tough. And I honestly think it also contributed to both her willingness to open up and make things work and my willingness to give it another shot. We told the kids we were no longer going to get divorced, that sometimes mommies and daddies need to work through hard things, and that we were going to keep trying to work through this. She moved back into our bedroom in August and I took the lock off the door. Life is not perfect, but it's better, and it keeps getting better every day. She expressed to me on Christmas how sorry she is for everything that she put me through and how she will keep trying every single day to rebuild my trust and love. I do love her, probably now more than ever. I understand now how couples can make it through something like this. We planned a family vacation together this spring, while the kids are on spring break from school, and I think we are all really looking forward to it. We still meet with our couples therapist weekly and are both still doing regular, not weekly, individual therapy. Outside of our couple session, our marriage counselor told us that she's amazed at how we have handled this and how we keep doing the work to heal the fractures in our marriage. It wasn't easy for a long time, but it's easier now than it was. I want to be as clear as I can be on what we did to heal. I know that the rest of this post is somewhat vague, but I want to be crystal clear on what we did to make it work. Maybe this will help someone else. I'm no expert, this is just what worked for us. Therapy, individual and couples therapy on both sides. Therapy helped me understand my shortcomings as a man, as a husband, and as a father. It helped me find clarity and peace in myself and helped me regain a sense of confidence. I lost when my wife cheated on me. Her individual therapy helped her identify and deal with her own shortcomings as a wife and mother. It helped her decide if she really did want reconciliation or if she wanted to go on her own way once she decided she wanted to reconcile. Our couple therapy helped us figure out what the path to that was and what our lives would look like. On the other side, we both committed to working towards that common goal. We bought in fully and did the work outside of therapy to rebuild our relationship. This included radical honesty. When I was feeling something I told her. When she was feeling something she told me. We didn't keep our feelings inside, we expressed them, and when she was telling me, I put aside all of my distractions and really listened to her. She did the same for me. Daily check-ins. Every night after we put the kids to bed, we would sit down and check in with each other. How was our day? What was our plan for the next day? How were we feeling about each other? These conversations were difficult at first, but became second nature with time. Now I look forward to our nightly check-ins and I know they have had a significant positive impact on our relationship. Asking each other questions. This was kind of like we went back to the phase when we first started dating. Look. She and I have been together for a long time and we are not the same people we were when we first started dating. People change. The question is whether or not the people we are now are people who can still be together in a healthy marriage. I found a list of questions online that ranged from what is your favorite color, and what would you do if one of your parents died, right? Now we went through the list, then we found another list and another one. It's become kind of fun rediscovering who she is. Acts of service. I'm not a super religious person, but we found a Christian-based guide to repairing a marriage after infidelity that included doing acts of service for your partner. This ranged from simple writing them a note, doing a chore that they were responsible for, sending a message in the middle of the day, to more extravagant things: date night alone, buying a thoughtful gift, taking a weekend away together. Again, these little things began to add up and rebuild my trust in her and my love for her. Simple things like when she took out the trash for me when I was working late, one night, went a long way. Stopped dwelling on it. This was hard for me. I had to actively choose not to engage in thoughts that took me to a dark place. This was also incredibly uplifting because it freed up my mind and energy to focus on other things. Whenever I'd feel like I was starting to go down the path of getting wrapped up in it, I would do something to take my mind off of it: work out or go for a run. Watch something funny on TV, play something distracting with the kids. Eventually, I stopped thinking about it regularly and, as I've mentioned before, as time went on, I thought about it less and less. I hope you don't take this as me preaching. I'm not. I honestly believe that some people shouldn't be together. I honestly felt that about us until partway through this last year. Some people can make it work, others definitely shouldn't. I can't judge your situation any better than you can judge mine from the outside. But for now I truly believe that we will be together for the long haul. Something else: I can't log in and check this account regularly because it starts to dredge up my old bad feelings about what happened between us. I plan to post this and then I'll check in again in a few days, and then I'll probably just leave the account alone for the future. I don't want to delete it in case someone else can benefit from the discussion, but I can't re-expose myself to all of this repeatedly if I want to continue moving forward with her. I hope you understand. Second story, in entitled Parents Thought They Could Control Their Adult Daughters' Lives, Choose Whom They Should Date, while abusing her and her partner, causing her to run away. The parents decided to threaten the daughter to disown her if she wouldn't return, now having a meltdown. The daughter cut ties with her parents and went and see edit. The GF stands for gender fluid. Pronouns change daily, so I stick with gender-neutral ones when speaking about them. Generally, I heard a story in here that had some fascinating things in common with mine and my partners. We had contemplated posting in Renan Parents for a year, but I think this is the perfect place for me personally to post. I 22F met my partner 23GF on Facebook dating when I was 20 and they were 21. I had never been in a relationship and was on dating apps for years. At this point, we clicked shockingly quickly and were messaging each other constantly. We had so many similarities. Neither of us thought we'd see in another person. We saw each other's character extremely quickly. It was like looking in a mirror, so we became a couple after 2 dates. There was no question about it. I saw some odd behavior from their parents very quickly, with how restrictive they were about our initial meeting. I wasn't allowed to pick up my partner, the dad had to come with us, and he even took a picture of us at the restaurant to prove to the mom that he stayed with us. The entire time, though, he just drove around the plaza to give us some privacy. I dismissed it as them wanting to make sure I wasn't a catfish or something, so I didn't think it would continue past our first date. I met the mom on the second date. I went to church with them, since my partner was forced to go. We're both atheists, and that's where I saw all the red flags. I joined them on an outing and wasn't even allowed to drive myself there. We barely got the chance to be out of earshot of the family. The mom only told me hello, and it was nice to meet you the entire time, and when my partner tried every opportunity to include her, she has a history of being upset when not included. She would just be at them like it was a personal attack. I was infuriated having personal experience with those types of comments from my own mother, who I temporarily cut off at 18. So I mentioned what I saw in our phone call that night to make sure my partner knew they tried their best and it wasn't their fault. She reacted that way. We officially became a couple a few hours later. We made a relationship update the next morning, and naturally the mom was making comments to my partner about us moving too fast. My partner tried everything to tell her about me, but she would either get upset or find something to not approve of, despite it being in line with her morals. We could only see each other on the dad's schedule. So, of course, it conflicted a lot with mine. I got increasingly frustrated that I couldn't see my partner on our time, like we weren't both adults. The fact that I had been so respectful of their stupid rules and never complained only to get no respect in return made me start playing it my way. I worked only a few minutes away from their house and got off around midnight, so I got the idea of asking my partner to sneak out, so we could go to some late-night restaurants. My partner hadn't done that before, nor I. But we successfully did this 5 nights in a row. We had our first kiss the first night in the middle of their street. It honestly felt like a movie on the 3rd night. My partner complained that the dad wouldn't buy more allergy medication and didn't want to use up the mom's, so at work. The next day, I decided to deliver the medication and some goodies from Walgreens. I asked my partner first, of course, but they assumed that I was getting it delivered to my place for our meetup. That night, I thought if the parents were going to get upset, it would be because I had their address. The mom exploded over this and then gave my partner the silent treatment. The dad came in to explain to my partner what was wrong, saying it was weird to get someone medication outside of marriage. It was too expensive and my partner was leeching off of me. I was obviously baffled and infuriated. My partner was being punished over something I did. It was $25 over-the-counter medicine and an absolute gift. My partner never asked for it. It was my idea, and who were they to criticize the way I spend my money on night 5? The mom put a parental lock on my partner's internet, probably to hinder contact with me, as if phone data doesn't exist. My partner had enough and took me up on my offer of staying with me, so they took a bag and their cat and ran away that night at 21. My partner left a note making it clear this was their decision, not mine. The dad called the next afternoon, obviously upset and begging my partner to come home. He then showed up at my work, but he obviously was only there to beg for his kid back, not have a proper conversation about why my partner left. So I wasn't interested. Our intention was to shock them into perspective that they needed to respect my partner as an adult and weren't entitled to a relationship with their kid if they treated them like SHT. That is exactly what I did with my mother, and our relationship has never been stronger. Our terms were that we could all discuss what happened and why together, but my partner would not do it without me, because I would make sure things were properly communicated without risk of them intimidating and manipulating my partner. They refused sitting it as a family issue as if I wasn't involved and they weren't actively villainizing me, so their other option was going to therapy. The Dumber assumed I wouldn't listen in on their phone calls. He actually agreed to speak to my dad. I live with him and then tried to use my father's conversation to manipulate my partner by twisting his words to make it sound like my father agreed with him that he is right to make my partner come back. He also tried to use the fact my partner couldn't drive and didn't have a job or life skills against them, but who was supposed to teach them? I easily saw through his tactics, but my partner was not able to defend themselves against it. If the dad just talked to me, I could answer his concerns. Not only did I rent my first apartment at 17, but I had done the research and been prepared to help a friend become independent, with even more hurdles than my partner. I was literally the best person to handle this entire situation, as, if all my life experiences prepared me for this relationship, he kept saying things like blah 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 wasn't logical, trying to make my partner feel unreasonable. They literally thought my dad and I were sex traffickers and outed my partner to their grandparents, so they disowned my partner. The mom demanded $200 for my partner's phone that wasn't my or my father's money and would only hand over an SS card, and BC needed to get a job if my partner gave her their cat, which was in my partner's name and with their own money until she got the money she wanted. Because you clearly love the cat more than me, the dad eventually convinced her to hand over the documents. My partner agreed to go to Taco Bell alone with him to get the documents and talk a bit. That's when he presented an ultimatum he wrote with the mom. It said my partner had to move back home or with the grandparents before the outing in I think 10 days, with the benefits of them helping my partner learn to drive and get a job, freedom to see me whenever and getting therapy, and if not, they would cut off from the family phone and health insurance. My partner just said whatever, to make the conversation end. I read that SHT and said bet. Then ordered a new phone line. I was literally yelling call their blip. What we just supposed to trust them to keep their word, even if my partner agreed to it. The mom then blasts this family matter on Facebook, saying my father and I had my partner in a stranglehold, continuing this narrative that my partner wasn't capable of making their own thoughts and decisions. My partner fought with her in the comments and she even said, if you think it's forever you're fooling yourself and you're burning all your bridges as you go, as if this woman, who said 2 things to me, knew the longevity of our relationship. They finally arranged for the mom and my partner to see a counselor. It didn't go well the second session, so my partner refused to go back, but in these sessions the mom said she knew I was a bad person during the medication debacle because my partner shrugged at one of her questions, which was giving her an attitude which was clearly picked up from an outside source. Obviously they just kept going. They said they listed the house for sale so they could move out of state because this situation was too much. They were literally forcing my partner to choose them and me. I never wanted that. I suspected it was a lie, but my stepmother confirmed the house was never listed for sale, which is even more rich because my partner told her. They wanted a new therapist because the second therapy session made them self-harming and she completely ignored that, then said she needed to talk later so she wasn't too distressed before the realtor comes. The dad kept insisting my partner reach back out to her and reassure her that my partner loves her and this isn't her fault, but it is. So my partner finally blocked them both. Then the dad took their brother's phone and pretended to be him. So my partner also had to block their brother, all because the parents couldn't understand they weren't entitled to a relationship with their child. There were more shenanigans from the dad through email and physical mail, but he finally agreed to have a discussion with both of us a year, and he finally gave up after I wrote him a 6-page email laying out everything he needs to take responsibility for and everything he would need to do to mend the relationship. And my partner had their own version of cussing him out. It felt like an argumentative essay about why he's in a role, including sources. The silence is bliss. Oh, and we're 2 years in now and engaged. The ring was in an allergy medicine bottle. I'm going to turn this one over to you. What do you make of this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. and as always, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, support, and time mean the world to me. So, thank you so much for being part of this. I really appreciate your time. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.